Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Had a couple people send me this story out of the Detroit Free Press, the paper I delivered as a young man. Keith and Rick both sent it to me. Lawsuit seeks millions from General Motors for cracked wheels on pricey Corvettes. Jamie LaRoe wrote it. And for example, Vanessa Bishop Diggs retired to the warmth of Savannah, Georgia, after working for 40 years in Michigan. And she said that she retired and is looking to kick back and just enjoy stuff. So in May 2019, she'd saved up $97,000 to buy the car of her dreams, a 2019 Chevrolet Corvette Z06 sports car. She said, "That was my dream vehicle. I did all the things I was supposed to do in life. If you did this and this, things come to you and you reap what you sow." And then, bam! 1 year later, her dream car was just 15,000 miles on it. Started to shake and shimmy, she said. She found out she had four bent wheel rims. The warranty did not cover replacing them, and GM reps told her that her driving and normal wear and tear caused the problem. So she replaced them at $3,000. Now here's the deal. If she lived in Michigan, I'd say, of course, it's driving. It's called potholes. That's what Michigan is. Georgia? I don't know how bad Georgia roads are. They cannot be as bad as Michigan's, because Michigan's are the worst in the civilized world. She said, "I don't want the car now, even with the new rims on it, because it was sick. I don't want to deal with it, and the way General Motors is treating me, I don't want it now." She's one of hundreds of owners of Z06 or Grand Sport Corvettes from 2015 to 2019 who've reported bent or cracked rims despite low mileage and careful driving. Some have complained to NHTSA, and some have complained to the Better Business Bureau. And this is a problem I encounter all the time in the field of lemon law, where people who've got problems on vehicles that look like they could be attributed to driving style or wear and tear. So brakes that wear out too fast, or wheels that get damaged, or things like that's the way you're driving. But what's interesting about this is we all know how we drive, okay? So I personally, at this moment in my life, have 3 vehicles. And if I developed a problem with one of those vehicles and took it to a shop and they said, "Oh, it's the way you drive," my first thought would be, how come it's not happening with the other 2 vehicles I've got? Okay, it's not me, it's the vehicle. So you would know this. But when it's happening to a particular year and particular model of car, then you got to wonder. So there's been a class action lawsuit now filed against General Motors seeking millions of dollars to reimburse the people who've had this problem. There are 18 people who have listed themselves as plaintiffs in the lawsuits. And the class action accuses GM of using inferior materials and a faulty manufacturing process that resulted in these bad wheels. GM would not comment when contacted by the Freep for the story, but a GM spokesperson said there have been no safety recalls on the Corvettes, nor are there any planned. In their view, the damage is caused by regular wear and tear. That's according to the car's chief engineer. Also, GM dealers offer tire and wheel protection to customers. Of course, that's a type of warranty you got to buy. The cost of it varies based on manufacturers, but tends to be about $1,000 for the plan. So, again, the big debate is, is this the fault of the way you drive, the roads you drive on, or is it the car? The consolidated class action was filed in September in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, and it's asking for reimbursement for the cost of the people who've had to have their wheels replaced. It's filed on behalf of anyone who bought or leased a Corvette Z06 from 2015 to 2019, or a Corvette Grand Sport from 2017 to 2019. The lawsuit alleges those models' rims are prone to deforming and cracking without impact damage. GM made the wheels with inferior materials, that is cast rather than forged, and is of insufficient strength and insufficient quantity to withstand the torque and power input from the drivetrain, according to the lawsuit. GM used less material than necessary, too, to save unsprung weight, which is weight that is not carried by the vehicle's suspension. And I've mentioned before, my brother worked on suspensions at Ford Motor Company, and we've had some long discussions on some camping trips about unsprung weight. And it's interesting the things that go into engineering cars that most people don't think about. So as a result, according to the lawsuit, the rims are not strong enough and crack and deform under normal driving conditions, which leads to a vibration the drivers will feel. The lawsuit said the cars are then unsafe to drive because broken rims could puncture the tires, causing air leaks and tire blowouts. The lawsuit also cited a magazine review by Car and Driver of the 2017 Corvette Grand Sport, which reported that it had to replace or repair 6 damaged wheels in a 40,000-mile test period, and that cost them $4,000. It said GM would not cover the costs under warranty. Consumers regularly pay over $900 per wheel to replace one cracked wheel with an equally defective replacement wheel. This would be a great case to be an attorney on, because all you do is you take depositions of the mechanics who work at the Corvette dealers. And I understand that Chevrolet makes the Corvette, but there are always dealers that have a reputation as being the ones who deal with a particular kind of car. And in Michigan, I can tell you there's 2 or 3 dealers that are just renowned for the number of Corvettes they move. And I assure you, if you drag in the service manager from one of those dealers and take his deposition and ask him what he thinks of all this, I guarantee it'd be enlightening for them to hear that. Lawyers named in the lawsuit declined to comment on the exact amount of compensation they're seeking. They said, "We are consumer advocates and look forward to vindicating the rights of all consumers who purchased one of these vehicles with defective rims. Our only goal is to ensure that owners receive what they bargained for." And that's a law from out of Los Angeles. I've never heard of them before, but I don't do California law. The math shows it could add up to tens of millions of dollars. In 2019, GM sold 17,000 Corvettes. GM does not explain or break down how many of those were Z06 or Grand Sports. Still, if even only a quarter of them were impacted, that had come out to possibly $18 million. That's just for 1 year. GM would not provide a breakout of what percentage of sales were the higher-end Grand Sport either. So, over the years, dozens of complaints about the wheels bending and cracking have been posted on Corvette forums. In 2017, Corvette chief engineer Taj Yukter addressed the topic on the forum. He wrote, "We design wheels to withstand extreme pothole loads and test them on high-speed laboratory equipment that can simulate the entire life cycle of the vehicle. People are often surprised that a wheel can be bent or cracked without any visible damage to the tire, obvious scratches to the wheel." He said, "Frequently a wheel gets bent by a road hazard, but the damage is initially almost undetectable to the driver. Maybe the driver notices a little more vibration, but many times not if the wheel is only slightly out of round by just a millimeter or 2. Eventually, fatigue cracks can form in the wheel, which may not look different, begins to leak air at the rim. Since it is hundreds or thousands of miles later, the driver often can't remember hitting anything that would justify cracking the wheel." He says, "I have actually experienced this myself." But to those who've endured the problem, GM's explanation doesn't quite do it. Diggs, the woman we talked about earlier, said GM customer service reps told her that it was her driving and normal wear and tear that caused her bent wheels. She said, "I'm from Michigan, so I know how to duck and dodge a pothole. It's my baby, and for someone to say wear and tear and suggest I abused it is insulting." A man named Jim was told it was normal road wear when he encountered the problem. He's from Ohio. He asked his full name not be used, and he bought his 2017 Corvette Grand Sport convertible in June of 2017. $73,000, and he only drove it in warm weather and on pristine roads. With less than 6,000 miles on it, it developed vibration. The local dealer told him all 4 wheels were bent, and his bumper-to-bumper warranty did not cover the cost to replace bent wheels. GM and the dealers blame it on the roads, but the roads I'm driving on are fairly good. It just seems unreasonable to me that this was occurring. I babied the car. He could drive it, but it vibrated, and he said he worried the bent wheels could lead to cracking, loss of air, which could strand him somewhere. Around Labor Day of last year, he bought aftermarket wheels. I was still battling GM, and I knew I wasn't going to put their wheels on my car. It cost him $4,900, so he filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and went to arbitration, and he won. GM had to reimburse him the $4,900 he paid. In the judgment, the arbitrator wrote, "Contrary to its advertisements, the manufacturer testified at the hearing that the wheels must have been damaged due to road conditions and that even minor depressions at low speeds could cause the wheels to bend." Arbitrator noted that there was no evidence, besides the wheels, to suggest road damage, and had the vehicle presented with one bent wheel, the possibility of a road condition causing the damage may have been reasonable, although this would be hard to believe under the circumstances. I find the manufacturer's explanation incredible. I find the only reasonable explanation to be manufacturer's defect that should be covered under the manufacturer's bumper-to-bumper warranty. Jim said the win meant more to me than the money, how upset I was with GM as a business and how they treat their customers and how they brushed me aside. It felt great to go against them and get something that I believe was fair. So the story is actually quite lengthy. It's one of those great pieces by the Free Press where they do a deep dive into something. And it sounds like there's a problem. And the interesting thing is when manufacturers build a large number of something, large number, they'll often find out that a small percentage of them have got an issue or a potential issue. And so if you or I were doing something today and you said, hey, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance this is going to happen to you today. You go, it's a 1 in 1,000 chance. But if I told you that there are 1,000 things right here and 1 out of 1,000 of them is bad, you're looking at, go, okay, the bad one's here somewhere, right? If one of them is bad. There's 10,000 of them here, 10 of them are bad. And so if you build thousands and thousands and thousands of something, and there's a chance, and you know what those numbers are, because you can figure it out later, then there's a bunch of them on the road. But it looks like this is very widespread. So how widespread, we don't know yet. But now that the word is out, the people who are out there who had the problem and were told, oh, it's the way you drive, thought, well, there's no way I can prove otherwise. And that's one of the things we learned with the Ford dual clutch transmission case, where Ford actually issued memos and sent them to dealerships and said, tell your service people, when someone comes in and says that their dual clutch transmission is making noises or shifting badly, pretend they've never heard of that before. Tell them that you're the first person we've heard of this from. Tell it to every single person who comes in the door. And what they're hoping is that each person will go, oh, it's isolated to me. It's not a problem. And maybe I did hit something. And so if General Motors thought that was going to work here, well, it would have worked, if not for a big article in the Detroit Free Press that Jamie LaRoe wrote just the other day. So it's interesting, but if you buy a $75,000 car, you hope you can drive it around without the wheels going bad. So it makes you wonder. But crazy story. Make me upset if I knew I drove the car the way I drive my cars and they told me, oh, you're abusing your car. That's why that happened. That would drive me crazy. So Keith and Rick, thanks for the story. The Freep wrote it. I published it with Jamie LaRoe, who wrote it. Lawsuit seeks millions from GM for cracked wheels on pricey Corvettes. Class action is now in place. I will update you in the progress as I find out about it. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I detest insect puns. They really bug me.